So just to wrap up for 2023, two big lessons I learnt just seem to coincide with Veritasium's video that he's just put out at the end of this year. So I'm just going to do a bit of a reaction video, which coincides with the two big lessons, I guess, from this year. Now, I always knew experiments are more important, the most important thing in science, because it's the evidence that counts. But this year I've really put an emphasis on the experiments. You'll see there's been a stack of experimental videos in the last couple of months towards the end of this year. And it's the only real way to be better than your textbooks and to get the actual correct answer. Now, when a mathematician, you'll see in Veritasium's video, I'll just put a link in the description. I'm just going to try and avoid having to repeal copyright strikes or whatever. You'll see that there's an SAT question here that they got wrong. So the math professors for an SAT, which is sat by, I don't think, tens or hundreds of thousands of students, and is pretty much flawless. They made a mistake here, and the correct answer is actually 4. And because it's not actually the circumference, but it's actually the distance the circle moves, which is in the middle. And so, interestingly, if mathematics, he actually gets some cardboard cut-ups and proves it by actually just doing the actual experiment and actually getting a small circle and rolling it around a larger circle. And so if mathematics needs experimental evidence and can't rely on the pure calculations, that's the most extreme. So even more so, something like chemistry that has endless numbers of positives and negatives interacting with each other, the experiments are by far always going to trump any theory that's explained. And so that's happened as I've sort of drawn into the more experimental focus in the videos. The first one I did was the incomplete combustion, where I was just trying to get the real numbers on the amount of weight increase that soot would cause. I knew it would probably be insignificant because it's just so light, it's hardly measurable. But actually, I was heating up the ceramic crucible, and that was drying it out and releasing the water. And so there was a huge, not huge, but relatively speaking, it was a mass decrease. And so there you go. The textbooks are actually wrong. If you heat up the crucible, the actual soot on there is probably not going to increase the mass at all, and you might actually get a decrease as the experiment shows. The second one I did was just taking for granted what the textbooks say and just doing complete dissociation with sulfuric acid. And this is the equation you just normally use. And you just take the reaction at its face value. I know that reactions will never go to completion. I know that they give side reactions. Almost every reaction does that. But this one was so far wrong, I had to just investigate a little more. And you can see that the reaction doesn't go to completion to quite a large degree for the second step. And so these are the actual calculations you need to do to get closer to what the experimental value was. So the experimental value was 0.2, so this was much, much closer. And you can see I was just taking the face value of complete dissociation a little bit too seriously. Those little arrows really should always be equilibrium arrows. So you'll understand this a lot more once you've done equilibrium. The last thing that was, the second thing that was the major focus was the Godmode video for this year. So I'll put a link and make it available again so you can see it. And so if the writers can't write correct questions and answers at an SAT level, you can be sure that smaller organizations and groups further down the tree of standardized testing are going to make lots of mistakes, both in writing questions and writing answers. And so this guy cleverly said, I wrote down the answer that I assumed they were looking for. And so if you watch the Godmode video, you'll get a much better idea of how to give the correct answer to get 100%. Not necessarily the correct answer, but how to get 100%, just playing the game. Okay, and so they're the two big focuses for 2023, and that video just so nailed it so well. I just had to put a reaction video to that one. Probably the best, in my view, the best channel on the internet on YouTube is Veritasium. So many fantastic insights in all his videos. Subscribe and go binge watch them all. All right, see you later.